Hello, good morning, welcome back. Now, keeping in mind the theme that the world is following today, we here on TMS are also going to celebrate World Teachers Day and commemorate teachers organizations as well many other institutions across Pakistan. We have invited in our studio this morning Dr Rafia Ali, who is one of the managing directors of Learning Pathways. Learning Pathways, or LP, is a consultancy outfit promoting contemporary models of teaching and learning, and it aims to help learners develop the abilities to find indigenous and humane solutions to the socio-scientific problems prevalent in their environment. A tall order, if you ask me. Let's learn more from Dr. Rafia. Hello, good morning.
Good morning.
How are you?
And well,
congratulations on this very important day for teachers.
Indeed, indeed.
Lovely. I was
we have a
going
long way
through,
to go.
Oh, I think so, and we are going to talk about that. In fact, why not? Let's start with it. What do you think is the most difficult part of this teaching profession? Is it the teacher training, the curriculum, the reception of the students, how they take things in?
Well, I think it's everything, really. I don't think that teachers can function in a vacuum, however committed you are. So they require a huge amount of support from the management if they're trying to implement
like in any other organization.
In any organization. And obviously need a space where, you know, we're talking of contemporary models of education. They're not really contemporary in the sense that we still haven't shifted away from our old model of authoritarian teaching, with the teacher lecturing. We still revert back to type.
You are not, you don't seem to be too happy about that.
Well, no, of course I'm not happy about that.
Okay.
You know, we find that even in the most privileged schools, which are very exam driven and result oriented, and you know, you will, when the results come out, you'll have them plastered all over in the newspapers. And these so-called straight A's, even in the privileged schools. Universities abroad are complaining that children who come with straight A's do not have problem-solving skills, do not have critical thinking skills. And at the end of the day, that is the key issue.
Absolutely. I mean, that is the thing that one should pick up.
Yeah, and our curricula tend to be too heavy on content. You know, research has been done intensively for the last 2 decades. My own field, of course, is science and math education, which tells you again and again that it is not the volume of knowledge of what you know, but how you know it, and the skills that you acquire that will enable you then, once you leave high school, to engage with real life problems,
the real world, basically.
With the real world. And that is even now, sadly, you know, schools are making attempts, but a lot of work needs to be done.
What is the impediment? I mean, I understand now, I have been out of school for a very long time, so that is why I'm asking you. Now, you say lecturing and all that, these were the things that used to be done and still are, and you are obviously not too thrilled about it. If we think of alternatives, what should be the present model?
Well, the present model, you see, in the case, of course, public sector is in complete shambles. So that's a totally different story.
But we are talking about an ideal scenario.
Okay. Now, if we're talking of ideal scenarios and we're talking of schools that have no issues with funding, I think that the private school model in our neck of the woods, primarily Pakistan and India, especially here, is very seriously flawed in the sense that it's a sort of it's more like a business enterprise. If you look at private schools in the West, they are trusts. They are not owned by a single individual, where the profits earned by the schools go into the personal pockets of people. They are returned back to the school. So there is no conflict of interest between generating profits and looking and focusing on the quality of schools.
That's an interesting point you raised.
So I think that here again and again what you see is a conflict between profits and between quality. Because even in the best of schools, ideally in an elementary or middle school where all the foundations are being laid, teachers should be given at best 10 to 13 periods per week.
All right.
A typical teaching load here, even in the best of schools, will be about 24 periods.
That is too much.
So it's just a lot of workload, and if you have that kind of workload, it is unrealistic to expect that teachers will plan innovative things. The fact that they are still able to do that,
because they will be in a rush to just complete their
yes,
target.
and they're tired, and then of course the way our systems are structured, there is always that endless grading and piles of homework to go through. So your whole perspective, even with the best of intentions on teaching and learning, changes.
Right, now we are talking about alternatives here, and for the benefit of our viewers and also myself, I would like to know, now you say, if when I was reading about learning pathways, that we believe in empowering learners through first-hand experiences using inquiry skills such as observing, raising questions, investigating, thinking critically, and arriving at a rational understanding of the world. I mean, intrinsically, that is the idea that every teacher would like to implement that.
Well, you see, simply put, the model isn't very complicated. We're just saying that teachers have to shift from the role of knowledge givers to facilitators. And it's reams have been written and research done, so I'm not going to throw all the buzzwords at you. But essentially, we're saying, okay, when you walk into a classroom, and you're starting something new, what is the first thing you do? You have to assess children's prior knowledge. What is the best way to do it? Have a conversation with them, engage with them, and they will have lots to say across the board, from the upper sort of end to your public schools. Children, young children especially, will relate to you.
Absolutely.
When you give the message that your opinion, your thoughts are valued. So the starting point is that. Then, if you have to have, of course, a very clear focus of what your learning goals are. And following their prior knowledge, which again tells you, okay, what is the real base that I'm starting from. You will structure activities
according to that.
And those activities will engage children and provide them opportunities to construct those concepts.
True.
Themselves,
and they will be more interested because it will have started from where they they already know, so they will be more involved.
Exactly, and then you are structuring activities where they are and of course it's very fashionable now. Children must do group work, but usually it's a lot of lip service. Where you must structure them so that children are working in groups, but the teacher is more like a diagnostician who's walking around, hearing their conversations, facilitating where she feels they are struggling, enabling, and the opportunities are designed so that children will be able to make the best of it. And this is always then followed up by a collective brainstorming session, where then children bring together their findings and they are able to construct formal meanings themselves. Now and then the final part of this model should be where they are applying this in new situations. And the connections in this whole design has to be with their real world, their immediate society. Throughout.
This sounds very interesting, but there are two questions that are coming to my mind. Number one, if the model turned into something so ideal like you are saying, how would they be assessed? Number one, traditionally we know there are examinations and there are papers and you have to write and you have to pass that and everything. So I'm wondering how these children would be assessed. Number one, and number two, I mean, this is a slow process, I feel, in a sense, whether we like it or not, when you teach.
It depends on what your learning goals are. You see, this is where the shift has to take place. We are completely fixated and attached to the textbook. And even as parents who are part of this community, they're parents of the learners, expect, okay, if this is a textbook, it has to be, finished. And if it isn't, Their real issue is, well, what's happening? So
Right.
that is the shift we need to make. The shift is that the curriculum dictates what you're teaching, not the textbook. The textbook is a vehicle.
Okay,
And
good point.
in the curriculum, your learning goals are not only focusing on the content, as I say that we are being told again and again, you know, if we have to do this rationally and scientifically, we have to see what research is telling us of how children learn at the end of the day, what are the skills they require. And we are being told again and again that it is not the volume of what you know, shrink it to actually probably one third
of what-
of what your curriculum is, and focus on inquiry,
Right,
on
right.
their being able to build this content knowledge by the use of very straightforward skills like observation,
Dr. Rafia,
like raising questions.
Dr. Rafia, we are short on time, so I want to
Yes.
bring up more
Yes.
things here. Now, are you from the school of thought, you know, who believe, there are a lot of people who believe that when a child is young and, you know, they start going to school and let's suppose they are given an essay to write, the teacher shouldn't be checking what the spellings of those words that they are writing are, rather the thought process of what they are writing, so that they are not deterred by, you know, कि मैंने ये सही लिखा कि नहीं लिखा and all that, and they should.
I am of the school of thought, but I would like to add, I mean, as a science and math teacher, this has always been my struggle in the English medium schools, where knowing and speaking, you know, there's that school of thought that they must speak English and nothing else in class. And I have been a vehement, you know, I've opposed it vehemently, simply because, you know, here's a child who wants to express himself or herself, who wants to understand the concepts, and you're saying, sorry, I can only explain things to you in English, we can only engage in English. Actually, and again, there is lots and lots again here, and I keep saying research because it's not a matter of my personal opinion.
But you've seen
There's
it,
a
yeah.
whole discussion of literacy across the curriculum, that you can actually, whether it's literacy in the language, that it has to be anchored within the context of the learning that takes place. In a science classroom, for example, if they're doing floating and sinking, they will pick up those words in English.
Anyway,
The
right.
objects that they are using, the words floating and sinking, the properties of water, once they are tangibly dealing with it.
Right.
Even in an English class, if you're going to act things out, if you're going to make it real for them, they will make those
So in a
connections.
nutshell, what you are saying is don't force it on them, they are going to pick it up anyway.
They will.
Let them pick it up
You have to,
themselves.
yes, you have to, of course, you have to have a plan and a design where you know at the end of the day what are your targets for
Right.
literacy,
Right.
which is why there's such a focus on these so-called word banks. It's not just true.
Dr. Rafia,
yeah.
sorry, I have to cut you there, but I really want to know now this school of thought that you come from and you are trying to apply, and obviously you're very forceful about, and it makes sense as well. This is would be rather a major shift from the status quo, from what people believe in, at least in this country. Do you see this happening in the near future?
Well, I think in reality it does happen, because when young children come in, you know, other than the children of the elite who've been exposed to, you know, English films and the media and the cyber, you know, the whole information that you get through all the cyber technology, children will, you know, slip into their mother tongue.
We are not talking only about the language. I mean the style of teaching and the okay, let's put it very simply. Would
I think
parents accept this kind of
yes,
teaching?
I think if parents are not idiots, but yes, we're all learners. I'm a learner as a teacher, so it's, you know, so if they see a change in their child, if they see that here is a child who is confident, who is developing critical thinking skills, and the kind of work, you know, you were saying, well, how do we now, you know, engaging children in the current world where the cyber age is a reality.
Right,
so we
right.
have to design things for them where at least children who have access to computers